Welcome back to Foundation. In the last episode, we transformed Greenshire from a rustic little backwater into a place that's a little bit more comfortable. We provided our citizens with a steady supply of meat, common goods, and berry brews, all while significantly expanding the village. But now we've got a new problem, or rather, one we've been ignoring. Our village is ugly, really ugly. Straw huts and a straw church greeting you the moment you enter town? Not exactly inviting. Dirt roads stretch as far as the eye can see. Better hope it doesn't rain. And that fortification wall we just built? Yeah, it's backwards. Not exactly my finest moment. Plus, resource extraction happening right in front of our market? I've had enough of that. And if we're being honest with ourselves, Greenshire's been sprawling like a medieval version of Houston or LA. I can't help but think it could use a little bit more density. So today, we're focusing on improving the aesthetics of our village. We'll pave the roads, upgrade the houses, build a new church, increase density, and do a bit of landscaping and detailing. Okay, a lot of landscaping and detailing. You know who I am. And by the end, I'm hoping Greenshire becomes the envy of the entire kingdom. Oh, and we've got to check back in on Betrice. Hopefully she likes the changes too. And if you're looking forward to seeing this village shine, hit the like button. And if you think that rustic charm is worth preserving, hit the like button for that too, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Or just leave an emoji representing common goods for the sake of engagement. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Though the main focus of our build today is going to be improving the aesthetics of this community, we've got to start out with a couple of utilitarian things. You can see that we are completely maxing out our treasury right now. And if we don't address this, we're going to basically be turning away money, which is not something that I want to do. And second, I'm noticing that some of our supply chains are looking a little bit shaky, so we'll need to address those as well. But first, let's add on to our manor and add a treasury. And to do that, we'll go underneath the labor tree and unlock treasury. But while we're in here and while we have all of this money, we should probably spend some of it. So I am going to go down the common path and purchase village fencing. This will allow us to put fences all around our community. And I'm going to unlock the city fence right away, which will give us nicer looking fences. Additionally, I want to unlock the storage improvement. This is something that Josh on Discord told me to do, and I think it's going to make a lot of sense for us to do this. It'll allow us to have more capacity at our warehouse and our granary, which is going to be really helpful. Now, knowing that our lumber supply chain is shaky, I'm going to also unlock our lumber camp improvement. This will allow us to have more workers at our lumber camp, which is what I think we really need. We'll also unlock Extended Village Edict, which will allow us to put an edict in place right away. And while we're spending money, we've got to also unlock the Tier 3 decorative assets. Moving over to our labor tree, I also want to unlock the Bailiff. The Bailiff has some unique mandates that are going to be incredibly helpful for us going forward. And I also want to unlock paved roads for obvious reasons. And the very last thing that we're going to spend money on is right here, the rustic church architecture, because I want to make our church look better and it's already at capacity, so this is something we should probably do right away as well. And with that, we've drained our treasury down to under 100, which is a good spot for us to be in. Now, before we expand our manor, I want to go take a look at our royal book, and that's because I want to enable an edict. So the edicts are interesting. They have a negative happiness bonus for both our commoners and our serfs, but they can provide some real benefits. So there's 5 that we have available to us right now, one of which can be enabled. The first one is contractual wage, which will decrease the cost of every mandate from here on out by 50%. We have the stonework promotion, which could really help us with some of our building materials at the sacrifice of food. There's also sturdy material, which will decrease the upkeep of building parts by 50%. Careful planning, which refunds 50% of the tools used after constructing a building part. And bulk trade, which does 2 things. Increases the amount that you can import from another village that has either a clergy, kingdom, or labor alliance, while also decreasing the cost of those goods. For now, I think that going for careful planning is going to make the most sense for us because we're going to be building a ton of things. And right now, I think that our tool making and supply chain is a little bit shaky. Now we can change this in the future, but it will cost us money. Next, I want to take a quick look at our resources just to make sure that we have good surpluses of everything. And I think I'm going to increase the amount of meat and fish that we're storing to 100. Same with bread. We're importing cloth, but since we have so much money coming in, I'm going to say that we want to have at least 25 on hand. I'll increase the amount of common wares that we have to 100 as well. And we're going to be using a ton of planks, and I don't want to export them all, so I'm going to boost this up to 100 too. Same thing with polished stone. And for tools, we're importing right now, and I think I want to make sure that we always have 25 on hand. That seems wise. And then finally, we should probably take a look at taxation. Because our edicts are making people less happy, we should probably tax them just a little bit lower. And you could tell that our serfs are right on the borderline of being unhappy. Now, while I want to upgrade the manor, there's one thing I want to do first. I want to eliminate a lot of this forest. Initially, I thought that I could keep the forest in the city and build around it, but it just hasn't really worked out right. It kind of hides the city from view and it looks pretty messy. So I want to eliminate all trees wherever we've developed. We'll plant our own trees and make it look nice and organized. And now I want to take a step back to make sure that I'm not removing all of my resources that are a permanent deposit. So things like this stone right here and our iron deposit right here. And I believe we have another one right here. I don't want to get rid of those. Now, eventually I will try to relocate some of these industries away from our core city, but we're going to need them in the meantime. Now, additionally, I'd like to clean up some of my districts. So I've got this forbidden area right here. No need for that. If I don't clean up the forestry area right here, all the trees that we just eliminated, they're gonna come right back. And I think I want to adjust the entire forestry area. I'm not 100% sold on this location generally, but for the time being, I want it to just be nice and orderly. So we'll just cover this entire area. And then lastly, even though we're not in a great spot with our housing supply right now, I want to eliminate this right here. We're going to be increasing our density, and I think that this won't be necessary. It might actually be a bit of a problem for us. And one more thing while I'm thinking about it. I want to make sure that we have enough builders for this project. I know you probably aren't thinking of builders being the ones that would chop down this forest, but that would be their job. And this is the only builder's workshop that we have. So I'm going to add a couple more of these and also move them from within our fence. And this will be a fairly temporary location for this, but for the time being, it's going to be incredibly helpful. And while we're thinking about supply chains, I also want to take a look at our tool making supply chain, because that one could also have an impact on our common goods. And you can see that right now we have nothing happening here at our iron smelter or at our blacksmith. Now, I think that there are a couple of issues here. First of all, at our smelter, I don't know that we actually have commoners here. I think, yeah, we've got a serf. So I'm going to upgrade the serf and we'll make both of them commoners. And then in addition to that, the reason that we're having issues here is not our ore, it's actually our coal. You can see that we've got none right here. So I'm going to add one more worker here at our charcoal hut. And I think we might actually want to build another one of these. And I'm going to speed this along because of how important I believe it to be. And I have zero regrets about this. It's so nice to be able to see the village, and I can't wait to plant a bunch of trees. Now, I'm going to accept these couple of villagers here before we move on. One, because we need some people working here at our charcoal hut. And two, because I noticed that we're having some issues right here with storage. So we've got a farm that's full of wheat that can't go anywhere. And I think it's because, yeah, we don't have any workers here at this granary. So we'll just add 2 here. And for whatever reason, I screwed that up. So I'm going to steal 2, one from each of our charcoal huts, and then assign them here to this granary. And now that we have that set up, I want to expand the manor, but I want to do it with an eye towards the future. So I don't love the plan that we currently have. So we have the manor facing towards the water. People are walking right up to its front door. It doesn't feel very grand. So I want to completely rethink this thing. And that's because we've got to add a couple of things right now. And I think that we have an opportunity to potentially make it face this way instead and give it a more grand entryway. So I'm going to edit this. And the first thing I want to do is add it to our tax collection office. So right now we have one tax collector. And the reason we only have one is we only have this one building. So my guess is if I add something like this, or 2 of them, I could have 2 tax collectors. Now my thoughts about this also come from Josh on Discord, who basically said that the tax collectors have to go door to door. So having an appropriate number for your village means that you collect more taxes, which makes a lot of sense. Now, in addition to that, we're going to add on our bailiff office. And I'm going to mirror this right over here. I think I'll just add 1 of these though, because we're going to be adding a ton of treasury space. And I'll make this look exactly the same because I want this entire building to be square with a courtyard in the center. Now, the fun thing about this is I can see how much our treasury capacity is going up. And with what we've added, it would go up by 480, but I think we've got to push it higher. So I'm going to wrap this around the corner. And I think that is about where I will stop with the treasury capacity, because we also have to add a watch post. So the watch post is going to be really helpful for us if we want to increase the density in our community. I finally figured it out. The reason why we didn't have anyone here at our garrison tower is that we don't have a watch post. But if we want to increase the density of our community, we have to have someone patrolling. And we have to have someone at that watch post. So this is really a density play. And then at this point, I don't know that there's anything else that we really need. So I could either just go into free build mode and just build whatever I want, or I could expand our treasury. And honestly, I think that that's the route I'm likely going to go. And that'll give us a monster treasury capacity, which isn't a bad thing. Now, I want to make sure that we're very symmetrical here. So I'll boost this up. And then last but not least, I need to change the entryways. And honestly, I like the small one the most, so I think that we'll go with that. And on the inside, we're going to have some as well, because I want people to be able to walk through here. And then lastly, I want to remove these doors. And now that I think of it, maybe not this one. We'll have some sort of patio out here. And then before we apply the changes here, I've got to move these stables. And temporarily, I'm just going to put them over here. And now we'll get it all building. And you know, I stand by my belief that this was the right call. I think it looks absolutely outstanding. I just love this. And we're gonna be able to decorate around this and make it look absolutely fabulous. But the reason I didn't do that right away is we were already spending so many materials. Thankfully, we have a lot of tools now and we have a lot of wood, though we could use some more planks. We're likely gonna need some more planks. Still, our biggest need right now, our most pressing need, is we need more people. So the moment that we have more immigrants coming into our community, we're going to accept them all in, because we're going to need some guards and we're going to need a bailiff. And while we're waiting, I want to take a look at our tax collector, because she should probably be a commoner. This will make her 50% as effective as we'd like her to be, but I don't think we should upgrade anyone to citizen just yet. We're barely meeting our requirements for commoners. Now, interestingly, we are currently losing money. So I want to go back into our tax collections and raise them back up. And hopefully that doesn't influence our happiness all that much. And it looks like we have 3 immigrants, and we'll take them all and assign them to our manor. First things first, we need a bailiff. Each potential bailiff gives us different benefits. So the top one right here will give us less happiness impact by things like raising our taxes. The second one right here will increase the job learning speed, increase our efficiency. And it looks like the last one does the exact same thing. So I think I like the idea of our happiness not being all that impacted, because right now you can see that it's already dropped about 10% with the tax increase. So we'll go with the top one right there. And now everyone has a sense of duty now that we have a bailiff. That is wonderful. Now, in addition to that, we now have the ability to assign people to our watch post. So we can have both watchmen and patrollers. I think we only need 1 watchman, because the watchman, I believe, is going to sit right here. The patrollers are going to go anywhere that we assign them to go. Now, these are all best suited to commoners, so I'm going to upgrade all of them. And now that we have people assigned here, we can paint a patrolling district. Now, the benefit of this is really all about density. So when we take a look at one of our houses, we can see that we would have a medium density house here if only they were covered by patrol coverage. And that's because they're inside of the light fortification. So we just need to make sure that they have adequate coverage, and this should level up and increase our density. And that's going to be really important, because I want to remove some of these homes right here. So I'm going to set them to patrol right here. And I don't know that I want to go beyond that, because we only have 2 patrollers, and I'm not sure how much area they can actually cover. And one thing I want to point out is that the density is completely separate from quality, which I think is really important to keep in mind. I oftentimes conflate the two, but they are not at all the same. And now looking at this, you can see that it has patrol coverage. And I believe once it gets above 50%, we'll start to see some of these buildings level up. And I kind of want to sit tight and see if that happens. And it didn't take long at all. In real time, it was about 30 seconds, and now we have all of these homes increasing in density, which is fantastic. So I just want to see what it's going to take to level these up. And right here, this is a low quality house, and this one would take 20 planks. This is another low quality house. this is a medium quality house, and this one takes a whole bunch more materials. Now, my real issue is that we don't have many planks right now. We've got a whole bunch of wood, but no planks. So I think that we need to build another sawmill, and I think I'll place that fairly close to the one that we already have. In fact, I'm going to move this one just a bit, and then place one right next to it. Would you look at that? We got a couple new citizens who want to work at the sawmill. And now that this is complete, I'm going to add those workers right here and even pick up a couple of more. And that should get things moving for us from a plank standpoint. Now, while we're waiting for all of this to upgrade, there's a couple of things I'd like to optimize. First, I see that we have 48 bread right here. So I want to unlock a trade route because I think that we only need 20 for Davenport. And it looks like we can't actually get this. What that means to me is that we probably have a whole bunch of bread here at the market. Indeed, we do. So I'm going to unassign this resource temporarily. Oh, shoot. And that means that we just lost all that bread, which definitely stinks, but we'll have to deal with it. I think it's probably worth it if it means that we can get this trade route, which now we can. And the reason I care about this is now we can sell boar directly to Davenport. But before we focus on that, let's get bread back here at our market. And then I figured let's just take a look at our hunting shack real quick and see how things are going. And it's actually good that we can trade the boar because right now the storage is full here. So we'll say that we'll sell everything above, we'll say 100 for now, but I want to double check and see what's happening here at our butchery. And I think I know what's going on. This is best suited to commoners. Yeah, we have a serf here and another serf. So we'll get them upgraded. And now they'll work twice as fast. And then I just want to see if there's anything else that we can sell right now. And it's not looking all that promising. It looks like we're selling everything that we can. And then one final thing before we just wait for these to get built, I want to take a look at our bailiff and see if we can send them on a mandate quest. There's a number of things that they can do for you. Everything from inviting commoners to your village to exploring mineral deposits. But right now, I think what the most important thing for them to do is likely give us some labor estate influence. This will cost us 50 gold, which we can afford, and it's going to take 30 days. So it's definitely worth doing this. Ooh, we could also improve the Trotberry trading route. Actually, that's what I want to do. This will cost us 50 tools, but it'll only take 10 days. And once that's done, then we'll get some more labor influence. Oh, and I absolutely adore how these look. This looks so much better. Now, in terms of density, what we're looking at is rather than having 2 people living at just a house, we can have 6 people living at one of these medium density houses. So that is absolutely amazing. That means that we could potentially replace a whole bunch of this with just a couple of these. So I'm going to let these folks into the community because we're going to need all the people that we can get, because I want to really take a look at some of our supply chains before we really start to crank the density and before we expand our church, because things are still moving around pretty slow. And honestly, it makes me think that maybe we should just move this entire industry away from the community and expand it. But before we even consider that, we've got to take a look at our tavern here because it looks like we've lost someone at our service counter, which means that we have no entertainment in the city. So we have to assign someone here. And, you know, I'm a little concerned about that. My concern is that if we lose our one commoner, we'll upgrade her to a commoner. If we lose our one commoner here, we end up in a position where there's no entertainment in the entire city. So I think we should also think about having one more tavern in the community close to all of this density. But first things first, let's move this entire forestry industry a little ways back from the city. And for that, we're going to need to buy some territory. And I like the idea of backing it way out here. We have a ton of forest space right here. And that means that we could grow our city in this direction, which I think is a good idea. And now that we own that tile, I'm going to systematically start moving this stuff way out here. And with that, all of our lumber production buildings have been relocated out here. The only thing that we didn't move is our warehouse. And I think I'm going to leave it like that. I think that we might actually expand it right here and try to leave it equidistant from our city and this district. Now that everything's been constructed, there's really two things that we need to do. First, we need to build some homes, because if we take a look at any of these and look at an employee, we can see that they are 148 meters from home. That's a long walk. So if we build a few homes close by, we should be able to make those people a little bit happier. But just looking at these, I think we actually have about 15 people that live in this area, that work in this area rather. So we need to have at least 8 homes. And I'll paint those right here, right where our old district used to be. And then I need to set our new district boundaries. So for wood cutting, we're not doing that right here anymore. Or actually, let's let them clear all the wood here, and we'll just stop foresting this area. And I will extend it over to this new area as well. And then we'll change this reforestation area to only cover this new area over here. Now, there's one thing I have to acknowledge. We didn't actually increase our capacity for anything, so I think we have to do that as well. So I'm going to add another sawmill. And then I want to expand the capacity at our lumber camp. And for this one, we can just edit our lumber camp, and I'll add a snoring post. This will increase the number of workers that we have. And I'll add a napping post. In addition, I want to add one of these deceptively large wood depots so that we can store more lumber here right at our lumber camp. Now that I think about it, I'm going to add a couple of these. I'll try to put these really close to the sawmills. And then lastly, I'd like to add a drinking post, which will give us 2 more worker capacity, as well as a woodsman tool rack, which is just a decoration. Now, irony of all ironies, this took a long time because we ran out of wood to build our lumber camp. So I did have to go through and reduce the number of people here at our charcoal hut and kind of balance things out right here at all of our sawmills. But now that we have additional employee capacity here, or potential, we should be completely fine. So I'm going to completely max this out. And now we should be in a fairly good place with our lumber supply. Now I want to switch gears and focus on our village. And we're going to basically be blowing this entire thing up and starting from scratch. Now, the goal is going to be to have a whole bunch of density through here and provide housing for basically all of our citizens. So to that end, the first thing I want to do is expand our fence area. I'm also going to accept these folks because we're going to make them pavers at some point in the near future. So I'm going to edit the fence, or rather the fortifications, not the fence, and expand this. And now I just want to make sure that all of our fortifications are facing the correct direction. And if I move that piece, I should be able to just flip this and then reattach it. So I'm going to do that for all of the fortifications all the way around here. And one thing I am a little bit worried about is that all of these homes are unhappy about the lack of fortifications while this is being constructed. So I'm going to let this thing get built really quickly before I do anything else. Oh my goodness, somewhere along the way, I inadvertently deleted a segment of the village fortifications. So I need to edit this and get that piece back so that we can close this up and our buildings will come back. Now, in the meantime, because I don't want to lose all of our commoners, I'm going to add a whole bunch of landscaping through here. And then this has to be the high priority project. So I'm setting this to be a high priority. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm also going to change the area that we're patrolling. I'm actually going to accept these folks and set them to be patrollers of this area. So I'm going to add one more watchman because we'll add one more watchtower on this side. And then we'll add 2 patrollers. And we'll upgrade these all to be commoners. And I'm also going to expand this residential district to cover this entire area right here. Now, we will be shrinking this up momentarily, but for now, we've got to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. Would you look at that? Now that our fortifications are complete, we have all of these buildings leveling up once again, increasing our density, which is fantastic. So while all of that's going on, I want to think about the way that everything is organized in here, because right now, none of it really makes any sense. So what I'm thinking is we're going to use the church as the focal point of the community. So we'll have a little bit of a loop right here where we have a market square. And then at the other end, I want to move the tavern. The tavern is just not in a very good spot. I was thinking more about aesthetics than the way it actually functions. And right now it's just too far away from all of our commoners. So I'm going to slow things down, and we're going to use a little bit of eminent domain. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of it. So I want to clear all of the homes out of this area. And I'm going to be relocating many of our businesses that serve commoners or that commoners work at right around this square. So I'm going to back it out even further. And our tavern is going to be tucked back here. So I'll eliminate those as well. And now obviously we could wait for these to clear themselves, but I think I'm just going to take care of it quickly. And let me tell you, as the village lord, I used eminent domain and I didn't pay a dime. So sorry for all of your losses and thank you for your homes. We're going to put a bar there instead. So I'm going to grab this and I'm hoping I can take the whole thing. Nope, we're going to have to do it one piece at a time. And to be quite blunt with you, I don't really want to do that. So I think that we'll just build a new one and I will try to hide all of the fishing occurring behind it. And this thing's going to be incredibly expensive, but incredibly worth it. So we'll build it all, which gets us to labor tier 4 apparently, which is pretty great. And while this is all going on, we've also got to move our market. So I'm going to move all the stalls into the center of this. And I won't be able to start this project until we have at least 40 wood. So I'll need to keep an eye out for that. I also want to move the well. And I think I'm going to kind of just sneak this off to the side. And I'm going to also move our village center to be right here. And after looking at this further, the real issue is that we've got a sign over here and the sign wants to be by the market. It's just too far away. So I'll just move this closer and now it'll let us apply the changes here. While all of this is under construction, I want to rethink our stone supply chain because this is not a good spot for it. So what I'm thinking is we are going to purchase one more tile because right here we've got a nice supply of stone. And as soon as our new tavern is built, we're going to eliminate this and this will be where we're producing stone. So to that end, I'm going to grab all the pieces and move them over here. And actually, now that I think about it, I can't move this piece over here because this is a commoner's workplace. So I'm going to sneak this right on the outside of our village. And then I will take these other workplaces and I will scoot them over here. Now, we have a warehouse over here, and I don't know that this is the best idea, having a standalone warehouse. So I think I want to take the warehouse that we already have over here and upgrade it. So to that end, we're just going to add a warehouse depot. And I'm going to speed this along because I want to start moving a whole bunch of materials over here. So I'll add another worker here. And now that this is complete, we're going to empty everything in this warehouse and move it over there. So we'll store both stone and polished stone. And I think I will double this up, though I am noticing that we are completely full of common wares. That makes me think that maybe we should add one more of these. Then over here, I'm going to say empty the stockpiles for everything and load it up with transporters. And now that this is empty, I'm just going to decommission it. And I will also remove the stone that's right here. Now, this took a while, but it was basically because every single building around here was upgrading at the exact same time, and we were running low on planks. But I'm glad that this is done because now we can get entertainment right in the core of our community. So I'm going to assign some workers here and upgrade them right away. And then over by our old tavern, we're going to eliminate this. And look at, honestly, it's probably for the best. We lost our worker out here. It's too far from their housing, and it's also too far for the commoners to get here. So just not a great idea in general. Now, interestingly, I didn't meet their construction requirements of the brewery. I was supposed to add one of the fireplaces here. I added it to the main hall instead, so not a huge deal. And while all of this is going on, we are going to start to reorganize a whole bunch of things that are happening around this plaza. So first and foremost, I want to take most of our workplaces and face them towards the plaza. So our common wares workshop, that's going right here. Same thing with Betrice. She's going to move right on the plaza. And then I'm also going to take our blacksmith and move them here as well. Now, it was brought up in the comments a couple of times that back in medieval times, blacksmiths were actually places where people would get warm. So I think it makes sense to move this in here. And the other added benefit is that this doesn't actually have a negative externality associated with it. So there's no problem moving this directly in here. It's not going to make people unhappy. It's a good neighbor. Now, what's not such a great neighbor is this iron smelter. So this does employ commoners. So we've got to keep it close. So I'll place this here. And this is actually one that I'm really interested in for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think that one of our big limiting factors right now is iron bar production. So I'm going to get 2 people in here, make sure that they're commoners. And it looks like they both are. And we might even add another one of these in short order. And in fact, I'm going to do it right now. And I'll back the homes off from there. And then the final piece of that supply chain is the iron mining camps, and we've got to move these as well. They're currently in the middle of this wall, which isn't great. And we've got another iron supply right over here. So I'm thinking I'm going to move these into the woods and maybe even add another one. And since we've completed that, I will remove the resource right here. Now we've got another warehouse right here. And this has cloth, coal, iron ore, pieces of this supply chain. And since we have our large warehouse right here that has nothing assigned to it right now, I think I'm going to start to move things over here, just continue to expand this one. So to that end, I'm going to increase common wares because we're completely filled up. I'm going to increase planks. I'll store iron ore and iron. And then this also has coal. And I actually can't add another one on, so that is good to know. I'm still going to consolidate these, and I don't think I'm able to because it is full, so I'm just going to build a new one. Get that building quickly, and then I'm going to remove half of the workers from here and assign them to over here. Once this is built, we'll move everything over here and then rebalance our supply chains. The next building I want to move is our butchery, and that's because these are commoners. This one does have a noxious externality, so we are not going to place this directly within the walls, but I will place it just outside of the walls. And the added bonus is that this will be very close to our market now. Now, before we can do anything else, we've got to figure out what's happening with our food supply because we are running out of both berries and fish. So I'm going to accept these folks into the community and make them look for berries and fish. And I'll build 2 of these up front and likely get people cranking there. And then for our gathering hut, we've got to really rethink what's going on because I think that some of these are in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm just going to place these maybe a little bit closer to town behind here. And then I also want to relocate some of the ones that we have over here because we will be clearing out this entire area in short order. We do have 3 unassigned villagers, so I will assign one right here as soon as this is built. I'll speed this along, and one right here as well as soon as this one is built. And one thing I want to do quickly is make sure that we're patrolling this entire area. I don't think that I painted the district, and I indeed did not. This is going to help us increase our density here, and we'll be able to serve all these people quite a bit more. And to go along with that, I am going to start decommissioning some of the housing out here. Now, this might seem a little bit risky, but here's my logic. So all of the upgraded homes have 6 people. Each one of these individual single family homes has 2. So we're currently decommissioning 18 of these, so 36 residents. So all it will take is 6 new high-density buildings in here, new ones, and we should be able to meet all the needs of all the residents out here. And I was just starting to assign workers, and thankfully, we've got a couple new residents coming into the community. We'll accept them and get them working. Now, before I forget, we've got our warehouse built here, so I'm going to start emptying everything out here. So we're going to have cloth, coal, iron, and iron ore stored right here. And then I'll get all of the stuff here emptying. That won't take long at all. And now that everything here is empty, I'll just decommission this. Now, I see that we are maxed out on stone here, so I think I'm going to change this polished stone store. Actually, we won't store iron ore over here, and I'll change both of these to stone. Back to our downtown, there's a couple more things I want to do. I want to build this paver's yard. They'll allow us to pave all of the streets around here. And because this isn't noxious, I'll place it right here. And we are a little bit low on funds, so I'm just going to leave this ghosted in for a minute. And I'm going to move our granary and expand it, making it a granary depot. Now, the whole point of this is there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have at the market, and I just want to make sure that we're getting things to the market as quickly as we can. And then I think it's about time that we expand our church. We have been low on service for a while, so we need to increase the capacity of this. So for this, I could just decommission this building and completely start fresh. But what I think I'd rather do is just kind of replace it like I'm Johnny Cash, one piece at a time. So I'll begin by adding some side pieces. And then I'm going to get rid of the center entirely and the steeple. And I'm going to add a brand new bell tower and a nice rustic cross right on top. Now this will increase our capacity by 57, which I think is going to be good enough, but I also want this to look nice. So I want to add in a couple of decorations. In particular, we've got some roses up front. I kind of want to go with that motif and make it look a little bit nicer with a whole bunch of rose type assets. So I'm going to grab a rose pergola. We'll add that to either side, and then we'll have a hedgerow to connect the pergola to the church. And I want this to feel like a park space, so I'm going to add another door to the back here. And on one side, I want this fountain with this gentleman in the center. And as much as I want to keep going, we are not going to have enough money, so I will just build what we have right now. Now that our granary is constructed, we've got to start moving some ale into here, so we'll assign that as a resource, as well as flour. I want the flour closer to the baker, and we'll store more berries here and more fish. The other thing that we should probably store here is meat, considering we have our market right here. And now this is complete and we have enough money to finish this. And what I want to do is ensure that we're not looking at this from the back of the church. And I want to add a graveyard to this side. And then finally, I want to round this out with some roses. And boy, oh boy, I don't have anywhere near enough money to complete this, but we have a ton of happiness now. So I think that we're going to have a quick mandate. It has to be done, and we still won't have enough money. We'll have to wait just a little while. And while we're waiting, there's one thing I want to do over here. I think I want to add one more warehouse, and this is specifically to serve these buildings right here and our common goods merchant, because I keep seeing no access to goods, and I think it's just too far away. So to that end, I think I'll actually tuck this thing away back here. And I'm going to speed this along. I'm also going to build our paver's yard. And we're going to store coal, iron, and common goods. And that should keep everything stocked right here because that's all that we need for this entire supply chain. I guess we're also producing tools over here, but I'm okay with those being taken over to our other warehouses. Now, because I want there to actually be common wares over here, I'm going to empty the stock at this warehouse. And now we'll accept it here again. But this should fix our goods issue because this guy, for whatever reason, just could not get any common goods. And indeed, as I look at him, he's currently getting common goods from the warehouse. So that is wonderful. That should solve our issues there. And now it's finally time to pave some roads. So I'm going to add 3 pavers here and upgrade all of these to be commoners. And now to pave things, we have to paint a road paving area. And I want to paint this entire area right here. I'm not 100% sure that it will actually cover this entire area, but we'll give it a shot. And bluntly, I probably went a little hard on the hardscaping through here, but I was having a lot of fun using the tool and I want all the dirt roads gone. Now we do have enough to finally build our church, so you better believe that we're going to do it. And that gets us the clergy tier 2, which is good because that allows us to open up another trade route. So I'm going to right away do that. Because this trade route to Kingston Abbey is going to be really valuable for us because we can trade them berries. And holy cow, our city's doing so well now that a ton of people are coming in trying to immigrate to our community, and we're so happy too. But I keep seeing that there's no access to housing and that the housing requirements aren't met. So I just want to check in here real quick to see what's going on. And it looks like we have a couple of folks that are not able to find housing close to work. In particular, we've got a hunter, a miller, a watchman, another hunter, and another miller. So this should be a fairly simple fix. For our hunter, I'm just going to give them a home right over here. And then for the miller, this is an area that I wanted to revise anyway. So this is probably gonna be the last thing that we do today. I'm going to clean things up and get ready to beautify the manor, though I'm not sure that we're gonna get there today. So what I wanna do is kind of back away the farms from the manor so that the space is equidistant from our village. So to that end, I'm going to back these up a little bit. And then for the folks working over here at the windmill, these are the ones that are upset. So I'm going to paint a small housing district over here. Now, the unfortunate thing is we don't really have any territory. So I'm just going to paint that right here. And I will relocate this. And I'm actually going to spin it around as well. And I'm doing that so that I can pull these fields a little bit closer to this facility. And while we're waiting for all of this to be reconstructed, I'm going to get rid of this resource right here. And this reminds me of one thing that I forgot to do. So I was planning on adding additional mining capacity, but I totally forgot to do that. And you better believe that we're going to. So to that end, I'm going to add 3 more of these iron mining camps, but I'm going to pull them away from this location. And I think maybe we'll have them over here. And we don't have enough money to build these, but we're just going to make it happen. We have a lot of happiness, and that means mandate time. It has to be done. And I've assigned 5 workers here, and as soon as these folks are in our community, I will also assign them there. And that should really start to juice up our iron ore supply. Now that our farms have been reconstructed, I want to rethink things over here just a little bit. The main thing I want to do is try to keep people out of our manor. So to that end, I'm going to pave a road to the manor, and then from the manor to the village. And then I will control the path going all the way over to our windmill. Now to that end, I'm going to have to say that a couple places are forbidden to travel. And that should prevent everyone from walking through the manor, which is the goal. So now I've got to adjust the farm fields here. Okay, that was a whole bunch of painting, but I wanted to be really specific about this because I'm going to line these with fences. And to that end, I'm going to use some of these stone fences. These kind of remind me of a fence that I saw in Ireland when we played GeoGuessr on stream not too long ago. And I think it's going to fit really nicely right here. And while that's building, I'm going to also build the fences around the manor. But for this, I want to see all that pathing. So if I click up here to visibility and I turn on the zoning areas, I can see everything perfectly. And I think what I'm going to have around here is going to be just a hedgerow. And then I want to decorate this just a little bit. And for this, I'm going to edit the Great Hall and I'll add the landscaping as estate decorations. And I'm doing that just so that I get the splendor for labor. And it's funny, I can't actually do that because it's too far away. So I'll have to make it part of our treasury, which seems weird, but we'll roll with it. And I think that's about where I'll leave it because that was 720 gold, almost everything that we have. Now, while I was waiting for everything to get built, I noticed a couple of things that have been disturbing me. So first and foremost, we've got the wrong tower right here, so I'm gonna have to replace that. This should be an easy fix, so I'm gonna do that right away. And it actually looks like it was the right tower. I just happened to have two of them there. So we'll apply that change. And then the other issue that I'm seeing is that we have homes that are decreasing in their density. And that's because we don't have enough watchmen. So I think that we need to go ahead and expand this just a bit. And I think I may do something like this, where I balance out the symmetry of the building. And it's too far over there, so I'm gonna try something different. And if we're not going to be symmetrical, maybe I'll just fully embrace that. And I'm going to speed this along so that we can make sure that we're covering our entire community. But, you know, as I look at this, we don't have any stone. And I think that we're going to need to produce a bit more. So I'm going to come over here and clone this. And now we'll just max this out so that we're producing tons of stone. And it looks like we actually don't have any more workers, but we've got more people coming. You know, and I'm not sold on how this looks, so we might need to revisit this. But what I am sold on is the number of patrollers that we can now have, which is just kind of an outstanding number. So I'm just going to crank this because I think that we really need a ton of patrollers, and we'll promote all of them to be commoners. And now my big hope is that all of these folks over here that are upgrading and downgrading, that'll stop happening. And I filled out the watch post, and look at this, we now are completely covered within our village boundaries. So that means that all of our issues preventing us from leveling up here should be resolved soon, and we'll see even more density within our walls. As we're about to wrap up for the day, there's one thing that we've got to do. We've got to check in on Betrice. It looks like Betrice is doing okay. Her happiness is 70%, and it's because she's missing refined foods and she's not happy with her tax rate. The tax rate's going to stay what it is right now, but we definitely have to fix her issues with refined food. That's going to be a problem for every commoner, and we don't want them to start leaving. And boy, oh boy, I think that this village looks about 1,000,000 times better than it did at the start of the episode. We have a whole bunch of density in our village center, and just things feel more organized. But there's still more work to do. We need a monastery. We need a castle. We need refined foods and clothing. But I think that's going to be for the next one, because right now we're going to leave it here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things that you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and play a bit of Foundation, and for that, I appreciate you. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.